Magic is something that we only really see in media. Wizards like Harry Potter, Gandalf, the Witches of Macbeth, and even Star Wars. We see them cursing their enemies, using magic to fight their foes, moving things with just a flick of a wand, and interacting with the world around them. Who hasn't wanted to use the Force to bring the TV remote to you, or be able to use teleportation spells? Changing the way we interact with the world is something all of us want. Having fantastical powers is what we grow up dreaming about. So when we hear that ancient peoples practice magic, we may ask ourselves, where did this magic go? What happened to this magic? Can I have this magic? Maybe we laugh at them. We call them ignorant. We make fun of these ancient practices. Why did they think that they had magic when magic just doesn't exist? Were they that dumb? Well, no. Magic, in an ancient Near East sense at least, is not an attempt to change the world, but rather to change the odds or outcome of an event. Let's dive into the world of magic, see how the magic our ancestors had works in comparison to that of Harry Potter, and see how Marvel accidentally got it right. Welcome. I'm your host, Matthew. Classified and learning.
Classified and learning.
Hi, I'm your host, Matthew, and welcome to Classified Learning. To begin, let's begin with a definition of magic. Webster's dictionary has the definition as follows: the use of means, such as charms or spells, believed to have supernatural power over natural forces. Something like Harry Potter swishing and flicking his wand to move a cup would definitely fall under this definition. Something like Luke using the Force to pick up his X-Wing. Magic in our world, though, is very different from that of J.K.'s and George Lucas's. We can look around and see that there's no flying brooms, no magical spells that can turn people to newts, and no lightsabers. Yeah, that last one wasn't really magic, but it'd be kind of cool to have a lightsaber. So how can we look at what our ancestors believed was magic, and think they were anything else but crazy? Well, let's look at what the anthropologist with possibly the best name has to say. Sir Edward Evan Evans Pritchard said that magic in the ancient world was akin to using two spears to hunt an elephant. The first spear you use is stuck in the ground. It is not going to change. The second spear is the one that you have in your hand, the one that you have the ability to affect. Let's look at an example. If you really hate your neighbor and you want something bad to happen to them, you may use magic to curse them. However, just because you curse them doesn't mean that lightning is going to come from the sky and smite them. That's just not the way the world works. What may happen is that they would get into a car accident. The idea here is that the first spear is the car accident. It was predestined to happen. Someone was going to be hit by the car. The second spear is your neighbor being in the intersection when the car sped through. Your spell didn't change the incident. It simply made it more likely that the incident would occur to the person that you cursed. When we look back at the past, we normally see dummies that don't know anything. They didn't know not to get dysentery. They're not as smart as me. I know this food's going to give me a heart attack, but I'm still making the choice to eat it. Our ancestors weren't dumb. They just operated on a different set of information to us. They had medicine, science, and religion. The average person had common sense. In fact, the average person was about as smart as we are today, where we have a supercomputer in our pocket that has all of the world's information. They didn't. The only information that they had, that they were 100% sure of, was that the gods existed. And so if gods existed, then potentially magic did too. Let's look at an example of that. One form of magic that was especially common around this time was divination. This magic was the ability to read the future in everyday events, or to interpret the will of the gods. You did this by reading entrails or reading the movement of the stars in the sky, or more commonly known as astrology. These astrologers were able to track the movement of the stars, planets, and moons. They were able to accurately predict eclipses, and then use all of that information in an attempt to predict the future and understand the will of the gods. To be able to do any of this divination, however, took the scientific knowledge to be able to gather all of this information. This was the case with most magical practices at the time. It would almost always be preceded or followed by what we might consider to be a more scientific approach. You have the flu? The doctor will make you a remedy out of natural ingredients and pharmaceuticals. Also, you will recite a spell or take a ceremonial meal in order to fix your flu. You see, our ancestors had many ways of approaching a problem, both scientific and magical. They wouldn't simply try to solve every issue by shaking a stick. They had actual methods to solve issues. For instance, if you were in Egypt and you got bit by a snake, you may recite a spell. Perhaps you had an amulet which you would use to bless the water in which you would wash your wound. That's not where your actions end. Of course, just like today, you would see a doctor for assistance in healing your wound. You see, it all goes back to the two-spear theory. Using the spell is simply your second spear, the one you can control. Going to the doctor and getting medical attention is actually your first spear. You see, you can't control how your body will react to the medicine. You can cast a spell in an attempt to increase the odds and likelihood that you'll survive. To fully understand this, why don't we look at a contemporary example and look at everybody's favorite topic, Marvel movies. Domino is a character in the X-Men comics, and also in the second Deadpool movie. She's important to this topic because her powers are effectively the same magic that these ancient sorcerers would use. She subconsciously changes the probability of something happening to favor her outcomes. If she's fighting a villain, she can't summon a bolt of lightning down to kill her enemy. However, if a bolt of lightning was going to hit anyways, she can get lucky and have the bolt hit the person she is fighting. She may not be reciting a spell, but nonetheless, she's essentially using the same magic as those in the ancient Near East. Magic today is a foreign concept to us. We see it as something silly, something for people who don't understand what we understand. As another anthropologist, James Fraser, once said, magic is just an attempt at science with incorrect assumptions. I imagine that would be a common thought throughout much of the world today. However, science and magic to ancient humans were two very different things, two very distinct disciplines, and it was an integral piece of everyday life. Thank you so much for watching till the end. If you liked this video, please consider giving it a like, and if you really liked it, please consider subscribing. If you know any interesting facts about magic, want to suggest a topic, or just have a question, please leave a comment down below, and I'll see you in the next one.